assistants hitting the ball, throwing the ball. It's our job to make sure that nobody gets hurt. Everybody there is just having a good time. Both teams are rooting for each other. You know, there's really no competition. There's no outs. Everybody's just there to have fun. It's just a really neat program to be a part of. 6 o'clock is game time. They'll do a national anthem. We buddy up with our players. Sometimes you have no choice in the matter. They come up to you and like, you are my buddy.
You want to be my
Absolutely.
Tyler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're with him the whole time. So he hits the ball, you're running with him to the first, second, third. It's all about getting out into the community that we serve. We will run into some of the players at the grocery store, on medical aids. You know, they'll instantly, we'll recognize each other and talk about, when the next season is coming out. You know, a lot of our players obviously have some medical issues, and we've gone to their houses on medical aids to already have the relationship. You know, we already know each other. The parents already know us. It is a lot different than just going into someone's house that you don't know.
I grew up in this area, and there were not programs that made kids with disabilities feel normal. So this is like a normal thing. This is baseball. We started in May of 2013. Fire and EMS and police guys are heroes. For our players to have the fire department come out and help them and be their best friend for a night, that's huge. It's awesome.
It's so beautiful being able to see like the parents come together and being able to hang out and communicate with each other. Being able to see the joy on the faces. There's literally never a bad day when I come to Miracle League.
We've had the opportunity to invest the town resources into Brimfield. They're used to the field. There's a lot of comfort that comes from that. Yeah, it's been a real blessing to us in the community, and you can see the participation here. You know, the bleachers are full every night. That's the thing I dig about it.
Throw it to Nolan. Throw it to Nolan. Nolan, throw it in.
Closely by Andrea.
Bud.
He hasn't said many of his one-liners. He's famous for saying, like, if somebody's like really swinging at it, he'll be like,
He's chopping broccoli. He's chopping broccoli.
I'm definitely invested in this community. It feels like home. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love it. All right, dude.
What's in there?
We brought gifts.
Oh!
Right?
Finally a hat.
Finally, right? I'm Zach Taylor, the captain with San Bernardino County Fire Department here in Yucca Valley, and I'm proud to serve you.
Good job.
Today we are at the newly completed Birch Creek Bridge in Oak Glen. This project demonstrates the county commitment to disaster preparedness and disaster response. When Tropical Storm Hillary came through, it completely inundated this creek and destroyed the bridge.
The prior bridge crossing was a smaller 12x6 box culvert, which was heavily damaged by large boulders that came down the burn scar area. Our engineering department put together a quick project to replace the destroyed structure with 2 10x10 precast boxes.
I'm extremely proud of our crews and our engineering teams for finding an innovative solution to replacing and repairing this bridge.
These 2 precast boxes tremendously improved the ability of water and debris to flow underneath the roadway. The project started in mid-September, and we're standing here now on the brand new bridge, which has been opened prior to Thanksgiving.
So often county projects get held up during design or because of environmental concerns or material lead time. And this project, we were able to complete it in record time.
We have been cleaning channels and installing mitigation measures like K-Rail in preparation for the upcoming winter season. We have cameras in place to monitor the area remotely and have pre-positioned barricades and equipment to close down roads quickly and begin the cleanup process as soon as the storm is over.
With the reopening of this road, visitors and residents now have full access to their homes and local businesses.
well. How are you? Good.
Do you own a property in San Bernardino County? You may be owed a property tax refund. To find out if you have a refund, please visit the ATC website at sbcountyatc.gov. On the left side of the website, click Unclaimed Tax Refund Search. You can search for an unclaimed property tax refund by parcel number or street address. For example, if your address is 123 Palm Street, only enter 123 Palm in the search bar. There is no need to enter street, avenue, lane, or any other portion of your address. If you have an unclaimed refund, the bill number, parcel number, citus address, refund amount, and a link to the form will appear on screen. If you don't have a refund, you'll be notified of that as well. To request a claim form, click Form on the left-hand side of the screen, and the refund information will show on the next screen. If the mailing address is correct, click Yes and enter your name, email address, and phone number. If the mailing address is not correct, click No and complete the form, including where you want the form to be mailed. Your request will be processed in the order it was received, and the appropriate claim form will be mailed to the address provided. If you have any questions, please call 909-382-3090.
Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid being made in somebody's garage or their home, not controlled. It's 50 times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine.
Stop the Void is a California nonprofit corporation dedicated to educating and raising awareness in our communities about the scourge of fentanyl. We started this organization because I lost my own son, Daniel Huerta, who was only 16 and a half years old when he passed away due to fentanyl poisoning. Due to the stigma of addiction and overdose, most parents feel that this can never happen to them. And I'm truly sorry, but it can.
San Bernardino County started with the Fentanyl Doesn't Care, But We Do campaign. Fentanyl doesn't care if you're a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a coworker, a friend. It just doesn't care. But we do in the county of San Bernardino, and that's why we created this campaign to bring awareness to the community.
San Bernardino County and Stop the Void have partnered together. Come to San Bernardino County website, Department of Behavioral Health, look at all the resources that they have, and make sure that you speak to your children. Numbers just came out for 2022, and it's north of 109,800 drug deaths in the United States. Roughly 77% of all of those drug deaths were due to fentanyl. This is why this message and this campaign is so, so important. If you think that it can't happen to you, think twice.
San Bernardino County's Land Use Services has now made it even easier for you to schedule your on-site, virtual, and self-inspections. It's called Easy Inspect, and it's a new mobile app available on the App Store and Google Play. Built with both contractors and homeowners in mind, Easy Inspect is an easy-to-use tool for viewing all of your eligible inspections right from your phone. You can schedule one or multiple inspections at your fingertips. For any additional help using Easy Inspect, visit easyinspect.sbcounty.gov or call 800-637-6655.
As we look at this monument, may we reflect on the memories and lessons of each very precious life, because it is this, our shared story, with all its pain and tragedy, that binds us together as a diverse community of people around our county today and even with those around our world. May this curtain of courage represent to you that we choose to join you in honoring the lives of your loved ones, our loved ones, and we'll never forget them.
December 2nd, 2015 was an unimaginable day for all of us. 14 people we loved were taken away from us on that day. Our employees were spiritually and physically wounded. It changed us all forever. Following the attack, the Board of Supervisors formed a memorial committee made up of family members, survivors, first responders, and county staff so we could build something that would stand forever as a testament to our commitment never to forget.
The Curtain of Courage is a place for us, one of mourning, but also we want it to be a celebration of life, akin to a small set of chapels, each signifying an individual loss, but creating a place that marks this day and time.
And today, we're here to honor the memories of those succumbed during that day, but also to honor those that are with us today and their families that move forward. To be able to see this curtain of courage gives us all in San Bernardino County, the state, and the nation, the courage to move forward.
In 2018, almost 3 years after the attack, the San Bernardino County December 2nd Legacy Report was published. It was intended to be a publicly available resource for communities and organizations that must respond and recover from similar situations. Already, that report is helping other families and other communities learn from your experience.
The way you sort your trash may be changing. Did you know organic waste that ends up in California's landfills makes up 20% of the state's methane gas emissions? Organic waste includes items such as food waste, like leftovers, bones, shells, peels, and pits. Food-soiled paper products such as paper towels, napkins, and pizza boxes. And yard waste such as grass clippings, leaves, and twigs. That's why jurisdictions throughout California, including the unincorporated areas of San Bernardino County, are now required to implement Senate Bill 1383, the new statewide plan to reduce methane gas emissions. If you live or work in an unincorporated area of San Bernardino County, you may be required to subscribe to waste, recycling, and organic recycling services in 2023. The county is dedicated to keeping residents and businesses of the unincorporated areas informed about this new state law and how it affects our communities before any changes take place.
Code enforcement's mission is to ensure compliance with county codes and state laws, to create safe, attractive communities that improve the quality of life of residents.
County Code Enforcement has several special programs: illegal dumping, community cleanup, graffiti abatement, fire hazard abatement, off-highway vehicle enforcement, cannabis enforcement, and of course our traditional code enforcement program.
Code enforcement benefits residents through our goal of leaving people better than we found them, by leaving them safer because we have addressed unpermitted construction that could affect the occupants, or by improving blighted conditions that affect not only the occupants, but the community.
My role in code enforcement is to ensure that residents of San Bernardino County are following the rules and the ordinances, talking with the public more one-on-one, helping them learn the ordinances, but also talking to them as though we're neighbors, because we need to make sure that San Bernardino County is a good place to live, a good place to work, and be a beautiful place for the residents.
Our code enforcement team continues to grow. We're working on some initiatives that are going to expand services and create new programs that will help our county residents.
I'm very pleased with them always. I've dealt with them for a good 30 years now. There's reasons for the code enforcement, and we want our city safe, and you can see when you don't have the codes what you get.
I became homeless back in 2008. I lost my sister. Then I lost my mom. I went under depression. I was really sick. I couldn't walk.
Sarah, we met in late 2019. She was living in front of businesses along the street. And we gave her some information and linked her with a host team and Inroads for temporary transitional housing motel assistance.
So I think it's important collaborating with all the departments involved, because sometimes there's a situation where we'll have to gather together and just think outside the box how we could help that person out.
Inroads stands for Innovative Remote On-Site Assistance Delivery Service.
The background, you mean?
The time that I just recently had met her on the streets to today, she's so much happier, healthier, and is working towards getting her own apartment now.
We go to where the client is and taking the resources directly to them. And it helps build that bridge for success.
I don't want to be homeless anymore, and I thank the county staff and team that helped me through this. Thank you guys, and God bless you.
ARMC just received Level 1 Trauma Center verification by the American College of Surgeons.
It means that all of these services at the hospital are able to work together in a timely fashion to take a patient from the doorway to the definitive care place. We were Level 2 prior to this. By achieving Level 1 status, we've become a center that doesn't have to transfer any patients out to provide life-saving care.
It is well known as the county hospital that serves the Inland Empire region with high-quality medical care, but also a great place to train future physicians and future nurses.
We developed a program, actually just a partnership with our local hospitals to go out and teach them about trauma. It's a phone call, and then we'll set a classroom for their physicians and ER nurses, and we're more than happy to go and provide this education, because our goal is to provide optimal care for all of our patients, not only in our hospital, but in the outside hospitals as well.
So I think having education in addition to being able to deliver high quality care, that's what I think makes this hospital a very special place.
San Bernardino County has always been the biggest, and once again, we're the best. Under the Board of Supervisors' visionary leadership, we earned an incredible 160 Achievement Awards from the National Association of Counties in 2023, winning more than any other county for the second year in a row. There are more than 3,000 counties in the United States, and San Bernardino County continues to stand above them all in terms of accolades for innovation, efficiency, and public service. This year, we were honored for streamlining staff training for our homeless point-in-time count, hosting 32 animal adoption events leading to more than 1,600 pet adoptions, making building inspections easier, keeping residents well-informed and safe following the El Dorado flood, teaching children the importance of good oral health, providing reentry support to vulnerable clients following incarceration, enabling local job seekers to succeed in their careers, increasing access to healthy foods for county residents, unveiling our Curtain of Courage Memorial. And this is just a sample of the 160 national awards that San Bernardino County earned for the services we provide to our residents and visitors. Thank you to our county employees for making this recognition possible.
As soon as Luther gets back, we'll start. Thanks. Good morning. I would like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge our High Desert and Joshua Tree conferencing sites. Thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to announce that we do have staff in the rotunda outside of the doors here to help with any members of the public who are here for our item 103. It is our public hearing regarding the solid waste handling franchise agreement. This morning, our pledge and invocation will be presented by the 1st District. Vice Chair Cook.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm pleased to have with us today that is going to lead us in our pledge, Mr. or Reverend, more appropriately, Director Bill Edwards. Bill Edwards is the director of the Rescue Mission Alliance Victor Valley, and has been in ministry for 20 years right here in the high desert. He grew up here. His grandfather moved to Victorville in 1943 and raised 9 children. Bill is married to his high school sweetheart, and they have 4 adult children and 3 grandchildren. As the director of the Rescue Mission, Bill has a unique lens as to what our community has been like and what it can be. He's homeless for the first time when he was 16 years old. Lived in a junkyard down off of E Street in Victorville. It was the kindness of friends that provided a sense of security and basic needs for him to survive. His choices to be homeless were his own, as he was already using drugs on a daily basis from the age of 12 years old and wanted freedom for himself. Bill now gets to work in recovery ministry and uses all his past experiences to reach out to the lost, hurting, and broken to offer refuge, recovery, and restoration. He says, who is the next director of a rescue mission, pastor of a church, or business owner receiving services at our mission today? Director, Reverend Bill, my hero after leading this very, very powerful background. So would you do the honors, please?
Please stand. Well, supervisors, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to present the invocation and the pledge. As you heard, it is something I get to do. 17 years ago, July 31st, you would not have invited me here, right? But God, my 2 favorite words in the Bible. All right. Beautiful room of people. Let's go before the Lord. Father, we thank you. I thank you for your grace and your mercy that is perfectly sufficient for this day. Jesus, thank you for the blessing of this time together. Lord, I thank you for the leaders that stand behind us, that have that calling, that you have put them into places of significance for their good and for your glory. So, Father, I ask for wisdom upon them. Lord God, leaders have often things set before them that they don't and may not have knowledge and understanding of, and yet the expectation is for them to walk through it and to know it. And so, Father, I pray for that supernatural wisdom for them. I thank you for all that you've given them, Lord, all that you're doing in this moment and everything you have yet to accomplish in and through their service to their districts and the people that live in them. And so we thank you for all that you've done, doing, and have yet to accomplish. And I have just a couple verses in Psalms. 105 says, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, call upon his name, make known his deeds among the peoples. Sing to him, sing praises to him, tell of all his wondrous works. Glory in his holy name. Let the hearts of those seek the Lord rejoice." Amen? All right. Now, if you would join me in our flag salute to the greatest nation. Ready, begin.
Thank you very much for your words today. We will now move on to our memorial adjournments. Vice Chair Cook.
Yes, it's with sadness that I have two notices, and they're both from Copper Mountain College, which is actually in your district. But I went to school there, and I taught there for many years. One was Jim Polian. Many of you might have known him. He recently passed away, and the second was Roger Wagner. And one was the first president of Copper Mountain College, and Roger was the third president. And it's just very, very sad because I was there when, as a community, 29 Palms, the whole Morongo Basin, were unifying together. We needed a community college, and we had a lot of local support. You were involved in that. We were involved in that, and we made it happen. And in a situation where we don't have the money, you can't do it, and everything else. But a rural environment where you drive long distances and what have you, it was one of the great success stories, I think, of the high desert. So they're going to be well missed. They were heroes, and as I said, we owe them a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Hagman.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to adjourn today. In today's meeting, in memory of Mary Lou Fields, the beloved mother of Dory Fernato and Joseph Fields, who are valued members of the Upland Chamber of Commerce. Mary Lou was born on August 21st, 1941 at Roswell, New Mexico. As the eldest of 8, Mary Lou embraced her role with love and responsibility, setting a strong example for her siblings. Mary Lou passed away on Sunday, August 11th in Rancho Cucamonga, surrounded by her loving family. She leaves behind a legacy of kindness, strength, and dedication. Mary Lou is survived by her 3 children, Joseph Fields, Dory Fernato, and Adriano, I'm going to mess up the last name, Furialo, her daughter-in-law, Vicky Fields, her son-in-law, Santo Fernando, and Steve, as well as her 7 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren, all who brought immense joy to her life. She is deeply loved and will be greatly missed by all who knew her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Baca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It gives me great sorrow to adjourn in memory of 2 San Bernardino residents. The first one is Walter Augustus Jarman. We lost him on August 7, 2024. Walter served as a leader in the community for many years. He was a trustee at the New Hope Missionary Baptist Church in San Bernardino and served as the president of our local chapter of the NAACP here in San Bernardino for many years. He was appointed to the Public Safety and Human Relations Commission for the city of San Bernardino in 2018. He was a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. You know, Walter's leadership and kindness will be missed, and he was very, very active in the San Bernardino community, so he will truly be missed. And the second one is for Ms. Vashti Margie Dowdy. She was a resident of San Bernardino for 63 years and a member of the Church of Living God, where she served as president of the Women's Mission Department of Nurse Guild. She served as the San Bernardino City Unified School District Teacher's Aide and later retired from the school district in 1999 after 30 years of service. She will be missed and her family in the community. She recently celebrated her 69th anniversary to Ernest Dowdy Sr., and actually her granddaughter and my daughter currently go to school together, so this is very, very personal. And also, she is the mother of Gwen Dowdy Rogers, who is our local San Bernardino County Board of Education member here in San Bernardino. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Armendariz. This morning, we have one special presentation, so if my colleagues will please join me in the well. Today, the board honors the life of Reginald Reggie Webb, a distinguished McDonald's franchisee and tireless advocate for the Inland Empire. He passed away on July 20th. Mr. Webb's entrepreneurial journey began in 1985, eventually expanding his business to operate 16 restaurants across Southern California and employing over 1,100 people. Beyond his business achievements, he was dedicated to uplifting others, as exemplified by his founding of the Ontario-based Cooperative Economic Empowerment Movement, which supports African American businesses and aims to close the racial wealth gap. We have his family in the audience today, and I would like them to come and join us here on stage to accept this resolution on behalf of the board to honor Reggie. Please join us.
Reggie really loved the San Bernardino community, and I'm so grateful that you found the honor to give him today, because he loved helping and uplifting the people in this community. And I'm so thankful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'll take that back. We will now move on to our county council reports. Tom, anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are no reportable items from closed session.
All right, and reports from our CEO, Luther.
Hey, good morning, Madam Chair. Just a quick update on the new protocol for our remote video conferencing sites. Over the past years, the Hesperia and Joshua Tree government center sites have been accessible to the public for every board meeting. But over the recent years, we've seen a declining and often zero public use of those facilities. The exception has been when there's items of key interest to the communities in those areas that we have seen our residents come out and use the sites. So thus, moving forward, our remote video conference centers in Joshua Tree and Hesperia, They're going to be operated on an as-needed basis, and they'll be open whenever there are public hearings related to the high desert or Joshua Tree areas. Additionally, if there are scheduled discussion items for projects that are anticipated to have significant interest to these communities, we'll plan to open one or both of those sites. It's important that our residents have access to make comments at the board meetings and are committed to ensuring that we communicate well to the public when these sites will be open. Our goal is that they don't have to go to a board agenda and actually look at it to see. So we're going to be coming up with better means to communicate that. We're also looking at an alternative site in the Joshua Tree area that'll be convenient for the public and also work with some limitations we have at the current Joshua Tree Center with some staffing, departmental staffing issues that we have. So that completes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to our individual board member comments. We will start this morning with Vice Chairman Cook.
That was a very, very touching ceremony with somebody like that. And I'm glad that as a community that we do this. I think it's, unfortunately, usually we do it when there's an earthquake or a flood or something like that. Just that we have in the community. That's about all I have this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hagman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple updates from some of the boards I'm on. South Coast AQMD has been awarded about $500 million, $500 million from U.S. EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant to implement the Invest Clean program in the South Coast Air Basin. What that means for us is that we will be funding charging infrastructure, zero-emission trucks, last-mile delivery vehicles, cargo handling equipment, and also workforce training and all in the clean vehicle technologies. I was able to attend a couple events this last week. The summer reading program. Every year we sponsor about 100 tablets that be distributed between the 4th District libraries for our younger readers who commit to reading at least 10 books over the summer, and they get their name in a hat. We hand out tablets, so we were able to hand out multiple of those tablets over the last week or two. And also, we often talk about technology. One of my cities, Ontario, is starting their real-time information center. And so we're able to tour that and also get an update on their component of Fire ambulance presentation last week. So they're really moving it from the reaction of technology to being proactive on technology. The example that one of the examples they're using was at Ontario Airport. Every once in a while, there's a car theft out of the parking lot, which we don't like to announce, but we see it. It's recorded. We could do the investigation. We find it. But this will allow us to hopefully intercept those type of break-ins and those type of things in our public spaces with the Real-Time Crime Prevention Center. We have a couple events coming up today. We're meeting with Representative Young Kim and Sheriff Dykus in Chino Hills. She is presenting the Sheriff's Department a grant for $1.5 million for cameras for the deputies. There's a grand Baldy View Dog Park grand reopening and ribbon cutting on 8/26. And I found that out this morning for all of us to send an SPCTA because it's something I have to deal with, is we're hoping that the 10 freeway finally opens up next week. So I'm very excited to get that. It's been, 5 years since we've been working on that freeway, and they're finishing up some final things. So hopefully that's coming up here by next week, less than a week away. We'll open that 10 freeway. And I also want to mention it's my son's 28th birthday today, so happy birthday, Jonathan. And since we're not going to see, it's going to be the chairwoman's birthday coming up in less than 2 weeks before the next meeting, too. So,
Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah, so well, I won't tell everybody how old, but you are younger than I, so there we go.
39, right?
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Baca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple things in regards to the committees we serve on. SBCTA, who we all serve on, just had their North America's first federally compliant self-powered zero-emission passenger train arrived in San Bernardino County called ZEMU. So this is something that's up and running now. I think it's a great innovation and technology, but also to make sure that we have better air quality and accessibility for our residents. I think it's a great thing. Also serve on the IVDA committee. One of the things we just approved was a project which borders 3rd District and 5th District with some street improvements on Sterling and 3rd Street. But not only that, there's environmental impact report that's going to be approved soon to do much improvements around the airport area, just to really enhance that area, to try to hopefully encourage more county residents to use our San Bernardino International Airport. I know that Kurt advocates for Ontario. I'll be advocating for San Bernardino International Airport. Also, many events that our county partners participated in. At Vermont Elementary School in Muscoy, we partnered with many of our county agencies to provide 700 backpacks, 700 pairs of socks, and 700 spirit shirts for every student in the school. And it just, when you hear some of the stories of these kids that weren't given supplies by their parents, makes us appreciate all the good things that we have. I want to thank the Office of Homeless Services for the resource fair they had at the Super 8 Motel and Hospitality. And part of their logic is to transition folks out of homelessness, to get them services they need so they can get the motel, so we could also have more beds for our team. So I just want to thank Marcus and Carrie for doing that. Right here on 5th and Pedley, in partnership with the school district, San Bernardino City, and the county of San Bernardino, we now have a crosswalk to help those students that attend school there in Little Third. It's a great victory. In Bloomington, we have the groundbreaking for the Kessler Park Dreamfield, which is a $3.1 million investment in Kessler Park. It's going to have a state-of-the-art ball field for our community. And I want to thank our public works and special districts for making that priority and making it happen for our residents. They're very, very excited. Also at Ayala Park, we had our concerts in the park. I want to thank special districts for that. And we had a successful national night out at Ayala Park. So a lot of good things going on in the county. And one thing just want to announce, one of our developers has been kind enough to allow the community to name a project in the community, which is located on San Bernardino and Cedar. So we encourage those Bloomington residents who have interest in naming the project, please participate in that. And I want to thank San Bernardino County Fire for doing a little town hall they did in regards to the Edge Hill fire. They were very, very professional. They laid out how they responded. They also showed, ways to prevent fire. So it's just a good education for our residents there in the San Bernardino community. And the last thing, just want to highlight a few items. Item 5 on the agenda is the Pacific Village campus community care expansion for 32 recuperative beds. I know I've talked about it several times, but we're continuing to make progress. This should be up and running in 2026, so we can continue to address homelessness. I want to thank ARMC and First Five for working together for having a breath mobile to deal with asthma. It's countywide use, benefits all 5 supervisorial districts. Also want to thank the behavioral health for the partnership with the Valley Star Behavioral Health. This is item 28, which will help expand mobile services for crisis response, which we know mental health is just such a big issue in our county and even in our country. And the last thing, highlight number 79, is just some of the improvements make at Glen Helen, some snack bar improvements and some facility improvements along Glen Helen. We continue to make progress in not just Glen Helen, but all of our regional parks. I just want to thank staff for their great work. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Armenteros.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to start by thanking everyone who came out to our second annual district open house. I want to give special thanks to the 15 county departments who came out and hosted booths. It was a great collaboration with myself and Rancho Cucamonga City Councilwoman Christine Scott to host a professional attire clothing drive where we were able to gather clothes for youth who can't afford to buy them and use them for professional interviews and such. We are currently still taking those donations. They can drop them off at our district office at 8575 Haven Avenue, Suite 110 in Rancho Cucamonga. We also attended the Incredible Edibles event where they brought together the elected officials, the public, and local restaurants to showcase the businesses in Upland. It was great food and drink and desserts, and it was great for us to support our local businesses. I also toured the ZEMU train. It was a great opportunity for us to tour the ZEMU Zero Emissions Multi-Unit ZEMU train last week. It is North America's first hydrogen-powered train right here in San Bernardino County. As a board member of San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, alongside my other colleagues, we were able to contribute and approve to the approval of the process through the groundbreaking technology in the community. We also visited River's Edge Ranch, where they proudly serve as a place for second chances. It is a men's recovery for substance abuse. They use animal therapy, multi-phased, manual labor, faith, and mentorship to help in the ranch, to help the people succeed. Recognize my colleagues, Chair Rao and Vice Chair Cook, for collaborating with us to pledge $100,000 towards River's Edge Ranch to continue their mission. And that is it.
Thank you. Thank you. For my comments, I'd like to congratulate the City of Needles, who has earned the Clean California designation, which is an initiative led by the governor to beautify public spaces. Needles stood out because of their commitment to zero litter and the policies that they have, regular cleanups, and it is one of the first cities in the Inland Empire to have achieved this designation. So well done, City of Needles. And then our library. On August 16th, County Library had a cohort of 14 students graduate from our state library-sponsored Career Online High School program. And this program, in partnership with Smart Horizons and the California State Library, provides an opportunity for San Bernardino County adults to return to high school in an online format and receive their high school diplomas for free, as opposed to having to resort to a GED. So congratulations to all of them and to Library Services for making that neat and unique opportunity available. Lynna, do we have any revisions to today's agenda?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yes, thank you. Today, item number 104 on the discussion calendar will be taken off calendar. And those are all the changes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If a board member has a conflict of interest to disclose on any item on today's agenda, now would be the time to do so. And I will lead by disclosing that I have a conflict on item number 74. U.S. Auctions donated $2,500 to my campaign on both October 27th of 2023 as well as February 5th of 2024. Any other conflicts?
Madam Chair, I do have also a conflict on that item. U.S. Auctions gave me a donation on April 21st, 2023 of $500. They also gave me a donation on August 7th, 2023 of $1,000. And on October 2nd, they also gave me, 2023, they gave me a donation of $2,500. And then also abstained from the Teamsters item number 77 on January 23rd, 2024. I received a contribution of $5,500.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to our consent calendar, which today consists of items number 2 through 102. I'm going to request that we pull item number 101 for discussion and lead with public comment. I have, I believe, 2 requests to speak. Osvaldo Diaz, followed by Garth Pizant. And we have podiums on either side in the back for those of you in chambers joining us today. When it approaches the end of your 3 minutes, it will flash orange and then red at the end of the 3 minutes.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be back. Wish it was under better circumstances. I guess this is about the Adult Protective Services. I just want to say I'm all for it. They finally came around to listening. I forget the name of the head of Adult Protective Services who took me aside the last time I was here. Personal note to James Tanghall. I'm working on getting that paperwork you need, Mr. Tanghall. Slow going with my disability and whatnot. But just be patient with me. Thanks for helping me out. And hopefully, some of you know my story. Hopefully I can get back home, you know, regardless of my sister using family court laws for financial gain. Again, family goes after property like cats go after tuna. Except I'm not your kibbles and bits. That's it. The rest will be public comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The last request to speak that I have on our consent items this morning is Garth Pizant. Good morning, Mr. Pizant.
Good morning, Chair Rao and the Honorable Board of Supervisors. Item 82, Sheriff, Coroner, Public Administrator. Approve the purchase and distribution of prepaid bus passes in an amount not to exceed $4,899 to provide support to eligible individuals released from the county's detention facilities for the period of August 20, 2024 through June 30, 2025, presenter Kelly Welty. Some time ago, I was prosecuted by the people of the state of California. Consequently, my case was dismissed, so I walked. Lo and behold, the sheriff issued me a bus pass. Now I am forced to ride in air conditioning with a USB port access.
Thank you very much. That is the last request to speak that I have. Are there any board members wishing to pull any additional items?
I'll move it.
Second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And with the noted abstentions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, the consent calendar is approved with the noted abstentions.
Thank you very much. With that, we will move on to the item number 101. And this is campaign finance reform. I just felt that this was worthy of a brief discussion of us here in case anybody had any comments that they wanted to make. And I know that this is being presented by the vice chairman. If you just briefly want to introduce the item for us.
Yes, I do. This is something that I think that's extremely important. Believe it or not, a lot of the feedback that we get here, a lot of it is about this one issue. And this ordinance will increase transparency and accountability in local elections by establishing a 9-member campaign accountability commission. This commission will oversee campaign spending, swiftly investigate violations within a year, and enforce reasonable contribution limits for county races. It also establishes reasonable contribution limits for county races that are designed to shift campaign spending away from secretive campaigns, providing the voters with a clearer information and candidates' financial backers. By leveling the playing field and ensuring timely resolution of campaign finance issue, this ordinance will create a fair electoral process that empowers San Bernardino County voters to make more informed choices at the ballot box. This is something that I really want to support. It just seems that so many people out there feel that the races are not fair and anything else. And I actually don't like the word transparency. I do like the word open, the fact that people can see what's going on. And if there are certain words in there that don't provide that guidance, I think the public generally concerned, and I think, oh, here are politicians trying to hoodwink us again. So obviously, I'm in support of this item, and I think it'll go a long ways for helping us with that transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments by supervisors?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Baca.
Thank you. No, I appreciate my colleague, Colonel Cook, bringing this item forward. I know that SB 1439 has made it a lot more challenging, for candidates going forward. And I respect and understand the logic for bringing this and bringing a commission for oversight. But there's just, for me personally, one of the things I like about this office is it's nonpartisan. I like the fact that I can work with my colleagues and we don't deal with party politics, what's going on nationally, what's going on in state politics. I like the fact that we can move and get things done. And, we don't care about affiliation here. We just move the business of the county forward. But there's just one section I have just, I will not support. I mean, I'm supportive of all of it except for one section. It's section, 12.4305, which allows political parties to give a certain amount for donations. And I just don't believe that that should be a part of, our giving. We've kind of stayed out of that. I don't believe party politics should play into county politics, even though they can indirectly. We all understand that, but I cannot vote for this item, with that section being, if that was stricken, I would be glad to vote for it, but as is, I will not be voting for this item.
Thank you. And I do understand the reason why it's in there. SB 1439 really did change the way that money is now driven underground, and I think it had the opposite effect, in my opinion. I saw it in my own race, and so I appreciate this effort being brought forward. I don't believe we have any requests to speak on this item.
We do not, thank you.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Thank you for the motion, Supervisor Hagman. The second, Supervisor Armendariz. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Baca, no.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, the item passes with Supervisor Baca voting nay and the remaining board members voting aye.
Thank you very much. Our discussion calendar today begins with item number 103, and that is an amendment to our solid waste handling franchise agreement with Burtech Waste and Recycling Services for County Franchise Area 25, being presented this morning by Noel Castillo. And I will officially open the public comment, and good morning, Noel. Can you make sure your mic is live, please?
Hello, testing.
Better.
There we go. Good morning once again. So yes, the item before you today is an amendment to the existing agreement in a continued effort to comply with state mandated SB 1383. Next slide. The amendment expands the boundary to include a new zone between Yucca Valley, 29 Pines, subject to regulations. This revision updates the boundary map and incorporates the necessary services for the area. The amendment includes new service rates that will give residents more options to comply with SB 1383 requirements. Notices were mailed out, given the opportunity to submit written protests. Next slide. The amendment includes the following revisions. Revised the franchise boundary, adding parcels to become a new zone, A-2. Revised rates and language related to the rate adjustment methodology. Adding new hauler services to assist with 1383 compliance. Next slide. The exhibit you see here shows the new A-2 zone being created. Currently, Zone A2 does not have mandatory service. Mandatory service in this zone will begin October 1st of 2024. Next slide. Notices were mailed out to over 7,700 residents, 500 of those being in Zone A-2. As of this morning, I'm aware of 8 protest letters, and they were all outside of the new zone being created. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. I do have one request to speak out on the Joshua Tree conferencing site by Alan Evans.
I live in Morongo Valley, and I'm a customer of Burtech, but they are unable to completely service me. They only take my trash, they will not take recycling, and they will not take the green. Why? Because of the road I'm on is not usable for their equipment. They service me right now with a small pickup truck type. That's it. It's a 2-axle instead of the 3-axle that we're all accustomed to seeing. And right now I'm being billed $148 every 3 months, and they want to reestablish that as $70 a month. And why should I pay extra for a service I'm not going to receive? And that's what I have to say, basically. There's 200, I talked to the Burtech, the guy that actually drives this truck, and he says he has 250 customers, and he will not be able to service everyone according to all 3 pickup. They do not give out the bins. I do not have a bin. I have to supply my own trash bag, if you will, a hefty bag. and it cannot be over 40 pounds. So there are limitations to this. And so if I'm not receiving the entire, all 3 pickups, just one, why should I be paying for the extra service that I'm not going to receive at all? And that's basically my question. And I get all your information sent to me. And it just sounds kind of a little bit not rational, in my opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Evans, we do have your contact information that was provided by the clerk of the court, so we will have someone from the county contact you. Thank you very much. That is the last request to speak that I have on this. Do we have any board member comments or questions?
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. I need to close the public hearing. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, the item passes unanimously.
Very good. Item number 104 is a public hearing to consider annexation 209 into the CFD number 9401 Fire Suppression Services. This item is being taken off calendar, but I do need a motion and a second. Thank you, Supervisor Hagman and Vice Chair Cook for the second. All those in favor of removing this off calendar? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The item is being taken off calendar with a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much. Our next item is item number 105, is a public hearing to consider the annexation of number 210, Assessor Parcel number 0357-305-23-0000 into Community Facilities District number 94-01, which is the City of Hesperia for fire suppression, being presented this morning by Chief Muncy. Morning, Chief.
Good morning, Board. Please advance the slide.
I need to open the public hearing and request the protest portion. So I guess before I open the public hearing, is that correct? I need to do the protest portion?
Yes, please.
All right. Do we have any property owners who are registered to vote in the Community Facilities District who wish to file written protests? If so, they must be filed with the clerk at this time. And now I will open the public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Chief, your presentation, please.
Thank you. The owners of assessment parcel APN 0357-305-23-000 near the intersection of Oak Hill Road and Mariposa Road in the city of Hesperia. They're looking to develop that commercial property. The APN contains a total of 1.38 acres. The Hesperia City's condition of approval requires the owner to annex into Community Facilities District CFD 94-01 Hesperia for the purpose of financing ongoing fire suppression activities. The proposed annual revenue for the special tax will be approximately $1,473 yearly. The owners are the sole property owners and have executed a petition, a waiver, and consent forms that request the annexation and waives various time periods and mail ballot voting election related requirements in order to expedite the approval of this annexation. Next slide. This is a parcel map showing the intersection of Oak Hills and Mariposa and the proposed site. Next slide. The recommendations are written in front of you for the board.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I do not believe we have any requests to speak on this item. Do we have any board member comments or questions?
Baca moves.
I have a motion from Supervisor Baca and a second from Supervisor Hagman. I need to close the public hearing.
Yes, please.
All right, I will officially do that. And this is a motion for recommendations number 1 and 2 at this time. So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, I will now have the clerk tally the ballot and announce the election results.
There's 4 that I have to tally this time. Thank you for. Thank you, Madam Chair. The special mail ballot of election to annex the parcel mentioned into the Community Facilities District is as follows. All 4 ballots voted in favor. The board may move forward with the final action. Thank you.
Very good. Recommendation number 3. I will now entertain a motion for that. Thank you, Supervisor Hagman, and the second by Supervisor Baca. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, this item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chief Muncy. Item number 106 is an appeal of the BMT Mineola Solar Project being presented this morning by Mark Wardlaw. We do have an order of proceedings with an appeal today, which I will have Lina explain for us.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. We do. Thank you. This is an appeal of a Planning Commission action to approve a tentative parcel map to subdivide an approximately 91-acre site into 2 parcels and a conditional use permit to construct and operate a community-oriented solar facility on one of the 2 parcels in the Daggett community. The appellant is Newberry Community Services District, and the applicant is Merrill Johnson Engineering Incorporated. The order of proceedings on this matter will be as follows. The chair will open the hearing. Mark Wardlaw, Director of Land Use Services, will make the staff presentation. The representatives for the appellant, Jack Unger and Margie Roberts, will have the opportunity to make a 15-minute presentation. Then the representatives for the applicant, Kevin Cohan and Todd Thorner, will also have up to 15 minutes for their presentation. Following the presentations, the board will take public comment. Members of the public will each have 3 minutes to present their testimony, and we ask that individuals that speak individuals who do not wish to speak but would like to have their position recorded, complete and submit a speaker request form indicating their position. When the public testimony has concluded, the applicant and then the appellant will each have up to 5 minutes to present their closing remarks. Mark Wardlaw will be available to offer comments, to respond to any questions raised by the board, and at that point, the chair will close the public hearing and bring the matter back to the board for discussion and action. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. With that, I will open the public hearing, and Mark, we welcome your presentation.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. I'm Mark Wardlaw, Director of Land Use Services, and with me today is Aaron Liang, Planning Manager. This item is an appeal of the Planning Commission's approval of the BMT Mineola Solar Project. The appeal was filed by Newberry Springs Community Service District. Next slide. On May 9th, 2024, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing for the Mineola Solar Project, including a tentative parcel map number 20538 to subdivide 91.9 acres. Better?
Getting better.
Louder, okay.
Thank you.
To subdivide 91.9 acres into 2 parcels and a conditional use permit to develop one of the parcels with a 3-megawatt community-oriented solar energy facility. The project site is located in the Daggett area, adjacent to the Barstow-Daggett Airport. The Planning Commission, augmented with 2 members of the Airport Commission, considered and approved the project. On May 17th, 2024, staff received an appeal request filed by the Newberry Springs Community Services District. This map shows the project location at the northwest corner of Mineola Road and the extension of Elkhorn Street. The dotted black line outlines the Daggett community area, and the yellow star shown on the map shows the proximity of the project to the airport. The next slide shows the project site outlined in black. That's the total project area. The solar facility site is shown in red. The county-wide policy plan land use category for the project site is rural living. The rural living zone designation provides for a variety of uses such as agricultural, family residential, mobile home parks, places of worship, sports or entertainment assembly, and in this area, community-oriented renewable energy facilities. Next slide. With the Daggett community area, there are 2 operational solar facilities and 6 previously approved solar facilities. Next slide. The tentative parcel map would divide the project site into 2 parcels as shown here. Parcel 1 would remain vacant. There is no development proposed on that parcel at this time. The conditional use permit would allow a community-oriented solar facility on parcel 2, outlined here in blue. Approximately 15,000 solar panels would be installed here, and access to the facility would be from Mineola Road, as identified by the red arrow. This slide shows the profile of the solar panel structure and the photo simulation of the solar facility viewed from Mineola Road. The solar panels are raised with a maximum height of 8 feet above ground level. Fencing with slats would be located along Mineola Road property boundary to screen the solar parcels from public views. Next slide. This slide presents the view of the project site looking northwest from the property at Mineola Road. Next. The photo on the left is looking south of Mineola Road from Chloride Road, and the photo on the right is looking west from Mineola towards the project site. In the very, very distant background, we have the Barstow-Daggett Airport in the distance. There you go. Next slide. The project conforms with the Development Code standards. No modifications or deviations are requested. The scale and size of the project is considered a community-oriented solar facility, and the Daggett Community Action Guide was taken into consideration as part of the review process. The project was analyzed and found to be compatible with applicable renewable energy conservation element policies. Due to the project location adjacent to the Barstow-Daggett Airport, a review of the project was found to be consistent with the airport master plan and with the safety review area. The project is located within an environmental justice focus area and must also comply with several environmental justice policies. The next slide shows the extent of the environmental justice focus areas surrounding the project site. An initial study, mitigated negative declaration, was prepared for the project pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act. The draft environmental document was made available for public review and comment from November 17th, 2023 to December 18th, 2023. Potential impacts were identified with biological resources, cultural resources, and tribal resources. Next slide. Next slide. Conditions of approval, as well as mitigation measures identified in the mitigated negative deck, reduce potential impacts to levels less than significant and are imposed on the project. These include fugitive dust control measures pursuant to the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District to address emissions during construction and ongoing operations. Conditions pertaining to valley fever to address potential exposure during construction activities. Mitigation measures to protect nesting birds and desert tortoises, which also includes those mitigation measures that were added in response to comments which were submitted by the Desert Tortoise Council. Mitigation measures that require a qualified archaeologist to oversee and monitor on-site activities for cultural or tribal resources. Screening along the eastern property boundary. And finally, the completion of an avigation easement prior to the issuance of building permits. As required by the Development Code and in compliance with county environmental justice policies, the project notices and hearing notices were mailed to surrounding property owners within 700 feet. 21 comments were received with concerns primarily regarding air quality, potential dust generated during construction, and disturbed soil. As part of the public noticing for the mitigated negative deck, staff received 6 additional comments, including letters from the Desert Tortoise Council and Mr. Ted Stimfel, Executive Director of the Newberry Springs Community Alliance. As mentioned earlier, the project site is adjacent to the Barstow-Daggett Airport. Where projects that are within the boundaries of an airport comprehensive land use plan, the Planning Commission must be augmented by 2 members of the Airport Commission who participate in the decision-making process. On May 9th, 2024, the Planning Commission and 2 members of the Airport Commission considered and approved the project. The final vote was 5-0-2 with 2 members of the Planning Commission absent. 1 member spoke in opposition to the proposed project during the hearing, citing concerns with CEQA, environmental justice, and health risk impacts relating to silica dust. On May 17th, 2024, the Newberry Springs Community Service District filed a timely appeal of the Planning Commission's action. The appeal application includes three primary areas of concern, which will be discussed on the following slides. In their first point of concern, the appellant requests incorporation of prior opposition by reference of all written and oral testimony previously submitted regarding this project and another solar project. The staff response to this is that the request is broad and it does not identify the specific concerns of the requested testimony or the relevance to this appeal. Although staff is not clear on the appellant's specific issues, staff has included responses to comments through the mitigated negative declaration for consideration. In their second point of concern, the appellant asserts soil disturbance would expose downwind residents to hazardous silica dust. The appellant specifically indicates that such soil disturbance violates the state's environmental justice laws. Staff response is that the project was evaluated in compliance with CEQA. Potential air quality and health impacts were evaluated for both construction and operation of the solar facility. Mitigation measures were identified and incorporated into the project through conditions of approval to minimize any potential impacts. The county's general plan incorporates several policies to address environmental justice concerns. Social and economic concerns do not fall under CEQA unless they relate to a physical change in the environment. The appellant also asserted concerns with other environmental impacts, and these have been thoroughly analyzed in the mitigated negative declaration. As appropriate, mitigation measures were identified to address potential areas of concern. These were summarized in the previous slides. Appeal issue number 3, raised by the appellant, notes the Newberry Springs area is a disadvantaged community and that the county has a fiduciary duty to protect residents from harm. Staff response is the location is adjacent to Newberry Springs and located wholly within the Daggett Community Services District boundaries. As previously described, the proposed project complies with CEQA, the county-wide policy plan, and the development code requirements, as well as environmental justice policies. The process is transparent and includes several opportunities for public participation. Therefore, staff recommends that the board consider the appeal and take the following actions. Deny the appeal. Adopt the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program. Adopt the findings for approval of the tentative map and the conditional use permit. Approve the tentative parcel map 2538, creating 2 parcels and a conditional use permit to construct a community-oriented solar facility, subject to the recommended conditions of approval, and direct staff to file the notice of determination. That concludes our staff presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to respond.
I do have some questions. What of the site is disturbed for the solar arrays? Is that just the 28 acres?
There are limited portions within the project facility, so the entire site is not being disturbed. There's some minimal disturbance associated with the placement of the solar facilities on the rack station, and then a small section of the southeast corner of the site requires a minor grading berm to control runoff. So there's a very limited area that will be physically bladed and disturbed.
So when you talk about fugitive dust control and the mitigation that was a part of the conditions of approval, can you share what the mitigation measures were?
Yes, Aaron will help.
Thank you.
One moment, we have a couple of inches of paper.
That's fine. And Mark, if it's better, what we can do is I can have the appellant come up and then the applicant, and then later for board member questions and comments, we can address it there as well.
That would be fine.
Let's do that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll bring the appellant up now for their 15-minute presentation, and we'll come back to the answer on fugitive dust control mitigation. Good morning. Sometimes these mics are a little hard to hear, so I would encourage you to speak as close into them as you can, please. And the clerk of the board will give a warning when we have, say, 1 minute left. Okay,
Yes, I
thank
will do
you.
that. Are the mics active? Is this mic active?
If it is, we can't hear you.
Okay, how's
Better.
this?
There you go.
Okay, great.
Good morning.
And Director Roberts says the clicker. Good morning, supervisors. Good morning, staff. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
I'm Director Jack Unger from the Newberry Community Services District. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Margie Roberts from Newberry Community Service District.
The Board of Directors of our district and the citizens of our district appreciate this opportunity to speak with you regarding the proposed BMT Mineola Solar Project. The BMT Mineola Solar Project is proposed to be built on 27 acres of a 91-acre parcel that is adjacent to the existing 3,500-acre Clearway Solar Project. Next slide, please. Good. To be clear, we do not oppose the use of solar energy. We oppose solar energy projects where the developer places the project upwind. Okay, the pointer's not going to work. You see the wind on the slide coming into the blue circle? That is upwind of our community from left to right. We oppose projects where the developer places the site upwind and fails to control the wind-blown dust and sand that they themselves cause and then allow to blow left to right, west to east throughout our community. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. This dust impacts our health, our lives, the lives of our animals, and the property values of our homes and farms. We are not here today, let's be clear, we're not here today to ask you to stop the BMT Mineola Solar Project. We are here to ask you to impose 3 common sense conditions on the building permit for this project. Conditions of approval. Newberry Springs is located 20 miles east of Barstow in an area called the Silver Valley, sometimes also called the Mojave Valley. This is a funnel-shaped valley. You can see it funneled between the 2 yellow freeways there, between the Calico Mountain Range on the north and the Newberry Mountain Range on the south. The prevailing wind is from west to east, left to right there. Next slide, please. Breaking or disturbing the existing soil crust to the west of Newberry Springs causes windblown dust and sand to blow through the valley, be deposited in our homes, in our bodies, and on our land. You know, sand is primarily silica, which is fine quartz granules. Inhaling windblown silica dust means inhaling microscopic bits of glass. Next slide, please. In red, you see inhaling glass causes fibrosis, silicosis, fibrosis, a scarring of the lungs. Next slide, please. On the left, healthy lungs. On the right, impacted lungs. The scar tissue causes the lungs to get stiff. Your lungs get stiff. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like. These are impacted lungs. The lungs lose their normal elasticity. Our breathing becomes impaired. Our bodies can no longer obtain the oxygen that we need to sustain a healthy life. In addition, the inhaled silica dust is so small that some of it passes right through our lungs into our bloodstream and is carried to our hearts, our brains, and all the other organs of our body. This causes heart attacks, strokes, and other often deadly diseases. So what are the 3 things we are asking of you today? These are simple requests. They are inexpensive requests, but they are crucial requests. 1, Either prohibit the bulldozing, the blading of the soil, or if the builder insists on bulldozing the soil, require that the builder immediately apply at least 4 inches of gravel over every area that they bulldoze. That will keep the dust from leaving their site. The proposed BMT Mineola project area is flat. It's flat. The ground elevation only varies 5 feet from east to west. No bulldozing should be needed. 2, the BMT Mineola developer describes this as a CORE, a core project, community-oriented renewable energy project. Now, I'm going to quote from the developer's initial study here. Quote, the facility will interconnect, next slide, please. The facility will interconnect with a 12,000 volt distribution circuit that serves loads in the local area, rather than an interconnection to a transmission circuit that would primarily serve users outside the region. Next slide, please. I'm still quoting from the developer. The project was designed as a community-oriented renewable energy project. It meets the general requirements of CORE in that the project size is under 10 megawatts AC. Project footprint is less than 60 acres, and nearly 100% of production will serve local off-site users. That's the end of their quote. They're saying they're serving local users. We are asking that this condition become a requirement, a condition of approval. Specify that this becomes a requirement. It's not just what the developer says they want to do. We ask that you require that the power generated actually does interconnect with the local 12,000 volt power grid so that the power serves our local community and is not transported and sold to Nevada, Oregon, or some other distant community. Very simply, we want you simply to require that the developer do what they say they are going to do. Next slide. We ask that you prohibit the use of lithium batteries. The developer says they're not going to use any. Specifically prohibit the use of lithium batteries. They're not allowed on airplanes. They self-ignite. Next slide. They're in our cell phones. They self-ignite. Next slide, please. The cell phone was in the car. The cell phone, lithium battery self-ignited. Next slide, please. A dive boat. The cell phones were charged overnight. Next slide, please. 34 souls were lost in the resulting fire. Next slide, please. Lithium batteries were transported on the FedEx plane. They ignited. Next slide, please. Lithium batteries are burning in that building to the right. You notice the firefighters are not trying to put that out because lithium battery fires cannot be put out. They need to be left to burn. They're trying to protect the building on the left from igniting. Lithium battery fires cannot be extinguished. They release poisonous smoke, which would be blown throughout our community. Next slide, please. Lithium battery fire in a solar power facility. Next, well, that slide's good. Elevated entitlements, go back one, please. Elevated Entitlements LLC, the developer, makes no mention of installing lithium batteries in their site. But you need to protect us by making it a condition of approval, no lithium batteries. Apparently, there's agreement on this. Just put it in as a condition of approval. There'll be no future problem. Next slide, please. Lithium batteries are always promoted as being safe. These are examples of the units that would be installed. They're safe, right? Next slide, please. Until they self-ignite and they're no longer safe. Next slide, please. July 26th, a couple weeks ago, Highway 15, why is it important for you to take this action today? Newberry Springs is mostly open land. It's ripe for solar project development. We're economically disadvantaged. As a low-income community, we are a prime target for big money developers. Within the last 3 months, our community has been aerial mapped using LiDAR by some unknown entity. LiDAR maps show the location of every building, every plant, every tree, as well as the elevation of every square foot of land. This mapping will reveal the prime locations for every new solar project. Newberry Springs property owners have been receiving letters offering large sums of money to purchase or lease our land for new solar projects. The latest offer, about a week ago, offered $2,000 per acre per month. for a new solar project. A 10-acre lease would generate $20,000 per month of income. However, the developers want to place these proposed solar sites adjacent to and between our homes. Adjacent to and between our homes. In other words, just outside our front yards and just across our backyard fences. Next slide, please. Now you can see why it is important for you, we believe, as supervisors to take the lead in drawing some lines, conditions of approval, and setting and enforcing some common sense development conditions. We need you to direct land use services to actually do the job of providing reasonable protections for us. Now, if I want to grade my backyard to put in a patio or a garage, I need to apply to the county for a grading permit with attached conditions. So why should the county allow a solar developer to grade 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000 acres without any enforceable conditions? Enforceable conditions attached to their permit. We need you to set the correct precedent here, to draw the lines, exercise your authority, instruct county staff properly. More solar farms are coming to Newberry. Please provide common sense protections for our community. Do not hang us out to dry. We're only asking 3 conditions. They're all reasonable. We need your help. Require that BMT Mineola Solar and other solar developers keep their dust, the dust that they create on their own site. Require that BMT Mineola Solar keep their word, actually connect to the local 12,000 volt power grid, the local power grid. Prohibit BMT Mineola Solar from ever installing any lithium batteries. Remember, the wind blows from west to east. We're downwind. What is this? We have 16 acres of lithium-ion batteries in our community already. We do not need any more. Last but not least, please do this now, supervisors. Justice delayed is justice denied. Don't make our citizens die early deaths while the solar building permit requirements are endlessly discussed and evaded. Thank you so much for your time and attention and action to address our concerns.
Thank you very much. Now it is the opportunity for the applicant to come up and present their rebuttal for 15 minutes. Good morning, gentlemen. If you get close to that 15-minute mark, our clerk will alert you when you have 1 minute left.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
No.
Good morning. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Good morning, supervisors. I'm Todd Thorner of Radiant BMT. I should mention the applicant through the CUP process is Merrill Engineering. That was an engineering consultant we use for the purposes of submitting the application, but the development company, the proponent of the project, is Radiant. I'm a co-owner of Radiant, and with me is Kevin Cohan.
Hi, Madam Chair and board members. Thank you for having us. Thank you for staff presentation and Mr. Jack Under's presentation as well. My name is Kevin Cohan. I'm with Elevated Entitlements, serving as an authorized agent on behalf of the applicant here.
Great. So I thought I might just start out, talk a little bit about Radiant, the company, and address some high-level issues before we jump in and address some of the specific concerns raised by the appellant. So I should share that Radiant is a small California business. It develops community-scale solar projects to help mitigate the worst impacts of climate change and to power local communities. And I raise that because reading the public comments submitted through the CEQA process and the appellate's appeal, it appears there's some confusion. I believe that they're conflating the Mineola Solar Project and its proponent, Radiant, with Clearway Energy and their Daggett Solar Project. As I'm sure you're aware, the Daggett project is a probably $750 million project on thousands of acres developed by Clearway and backed by a New York private equity firm. I understand the size of that project is 480 megawatts of solar and almost 400 megawatt hours of containerized battery energy storage systems, lithium ion. And so if you compare that to Mineola Solar as a 3 megawatt AC project, the Daggett project is over 150 times larger just for the solar component. And given the fact that they're using battery energy storage systems, I understand that they've had to grub and grade fairly large areas of land and bring in haul roads for all that equipment. So I just wanted to say that, again, having read those comments, comment letters of the community, it appears they may have suffered some negative impacts from the construction of that project. I don't live in the community, I don't know. I'm sorry if that's happened, but I do believe that Radiant shouldn't be held accountable for any problems or concerns created by another project, which is on a totally different scope and scale. I think the Community Services District might better direct their complaints and their activism to the projects that they believe are creating problems, and especially focus on whether those projects are complying with their conditions of approval. As for the Mineola Solar Project, it was evaluated, as staff explained, through the CEQA process. It's been about a 20-month process to date. It's been found to comply with the countywide plan and the development code. In response to comments that were received from various stakeholders, including the Community Services District, we actually did add a number of additional mitigations to address stated concerns. There are extensive conditions of approval in the CUP, which Kevin will be diving to in a moment here, that specifically address the requirements for grading plan, for dust control, and for maintaining air quality. In that process, I'm sure you're aware, there's Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District requires very extensive analytics and modeling of potential impacts. The Desert AQMD is one of the most stringent in California and in the United States for maintaining air quality standards. And that Cal-EE model modeled the specific equipment to be used on site to build the project, the duration, and the potential air impacts. And it designed specific conditions of approval to mitigate those potential impacts down to no significant impact. And so with Planning Board unanimously approving the project with its conditions of approval related to dust, I believe the existing requirements are adequate to protect the local community.
Thank you. I'm going to just hit the items that Mr. Jack Under and Margie Roberts had mentioned and respond to them accordingly. Also like to respond to a comment regarding the conditions of approval and what is currently in place. Prior to land disturbance, there are two conditions that are already set in the conditions of approval that were heard during the Planning Commission hearing. Number 37 is a dust control plan. And Mr. Jack Under reinforced enforceable condition. This is an enforceable condition. The dust control plan shall be submitted and accepted by the county and Mojave Desert AQMD prior to issuance of any construction-related permits. The plan shall include methods to stabilize and or bind the soil as part of construction and operational activities, along with screening to reduce potential dust to the east and south, consistent with the development code. We are conditioned to provide an 8-foot tall fence with slats, which we are conditioned to incorporate in the project. We also are required to meet and adhere to Rule 403 and 402 of the AQMD standards, and that is reinforced in condition number 39, where we must comply with Rules 402 nuisance and 403 fugitive dust. This requires us to implement best available control measures for each fugitive dust source, and this is all required prior to any grading activities on site. I want to respond also in regards to the power serving the local community. This is a community renewable project. It's a 3-megawatt project in size. We have every intent of meeting the core standards to provide renewable energy to local consumers. We are not a large developer. We're not a national developer that will be selling this off to other users.
To that point, I can add that Radiant has an executed interconnection agreement with Southern California Edison to interconnect the project to the local 12 kV Mineola circuit. And so that's the way that we'll be serving the local community. And so we don't have a concern or a problem with some condition that specifically requires that. That's the design of the project from the very beginning.
The third item is the lithium batteries. There is no battery energy storage on site. We're not storing battery energy in batteries on site, so there's no intent to have any lithium batteries on site. Number four, again, Mr. Jack Under made a comment that Elevated Entitlements is the developer. We are authorized agent. We're not the developer of the site. We prepare the CEQA document on behalf of the county. Item number 5 that I want to mention, Mr. Jack Under brought up use of LiDAR maps and choosing this site based on a number he threw out there of acreage that we can rent the land for. This is all unfounded and not true. The site was located based on substation, being within half mile of a substation and finding the interconnection to the site. Our intent is to develop a portion of the site for solar facility, renewable energy, which is allowed in the rural living zone. And we have every intent of meeting the community renewable standards and guidelines set by CEQA. And then lastly, the comment regarding enforceable conditions was reiterated. These are all enforceable conditions. I've worked in the county for several years now. I'm a former planning commissioner and city planner for other cities. These conditions are your rule book. They're the guidelines that are required to follow in order to get your permit issuance. So we take these conditions very seriously. We have every intent to adhering to them and appreciate staff's review of these conditions and implementation of them throughout the project. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. I might just fill in a little bit more color on one or two items that Kevin mentioned. One item was a concern about lithium-ion battery storage. As Kevin mentioned, that is not part of the project. I just wanted to highlight the fact that if we had wanted to use, if we were allowed to use battery energy storage, that would have to be something that would be included in the project description and would have been evaluated throughout the CEQA process, including the potential impacts and risks, including fire. You'll see that that's not part of the project description. It's not part of the plan. To ask for conditions of approval for things which aren't allowed to me seems unnecessary. We can't go out and build a gas plant or put in a Pizza Hut. The project is described, and that's, we're held to it by the conditional use permit and the conditions of approval. And then just circling back on, I think, maybe the largest concern of the appellant related to dust. And that is specifically, they pointed out that the site is quite flat, and that is correct. The current engineering designs for the project show very minimal grading. The county has drainage improvement requirements to protect the local neighborhood from runoff in large, storm events, 100-year type events. And so there is a retention basin and a berm and a swale, and those are the types of improvements which require some blading. But those areas are limited to about an acre, less than an acre of the total 27-acre parcel for the solar facility. And of course, the conditions of approval related to fugitive dust control, AQMD Rule 403. It requires, just reading from the condition of approval, watering or other soil stabilization methods both before, during, and after grading to control any potential dust. And further, it says portions actively being graded shall be watered to ensure a crust is formed on the ground surface at the end of each day. And so given the very limited areas that are planned for blading and these very stringent AQMD requirements and the conditions of approval of the existing CUP, again, it seems to me that the community should rest assured that there will not be significant impacts from dust. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to public comment before we get into the rebuttal, the closing comments. I have 3 requests to speak. We're going to start with Paula Deal, who will be followed by Mike Matson. And for our public speakers, we have podiums up on either side above the seats in chambers.
Good morning. My name is Paul Deal. I'm a 44-year resident of Newberry Springs. And I want to point out that we are uniquely challenged with blowing dust. There are tourists that like to come to our area and post on Facebook and YouTube pictures of themselves standing on houses buried by the blow sand. So we are very sensitive that people don't grasp the risk that we live with. In the conditions for approval, it says that there must be a dust mitigation plan. As I've looked through the supporting documents, there is no dust mitigation plan included. There is vague reference that they will use water and fencing to control the dust mitigation. Water does not work with silica sand. The sand does not hold the water. It runs through with the warm air about an hour after it's been watered. That fine microscopic silica dust is back in the air 50 to 100 feet high or more. An 8-foot fence doesn't work. Our experience with 2 prior solar developments have shown us that the requirements that are being suggested here don't work. And the proof of that is in your documents are the testimonies of people who live downstream, downwind of these projects where their properties and their health are damaged from this dust. There are 3 ways recommended to stop the dust: water, soil addendums, what you add to the soil to change the characteristic of the soil, and fencing. The third method, the soil amendments, is not recommended here. It's not mentioned. And without those amendments, the water can't work. Our farmers and growers, when they open up a field, they have to stabilize that field so that the wind doesn't blow the seed away. And they do that with the soil amendment, and the preferred soil amendment is cow manure. The cow manure will hold the moisture in the soil, giving the seed a chance to germinate and sprout, and it becomes a wind barrier that will hold the soil. This method is not recommended here. It's not acknowledged, and without that, it cannot work. One of the recommendations in the documents is that the Newberry Community Service District be the local agent that you consult with to come up
That's time.
Thank you very much. The next request to speak that I have is from Mike Manson, who will be followed by Ted Stimple.
Good morning, everyone. Mike Matson, Newberry Springs. I'm here as a resident speaking on my behalf, and I'm a Newberry Springs Community Service Director, Vice President of the board. Let me start with, to Mr. Cook's point earlier in the conversation, transparency and open book. I believe that's what he mentioned earlier this morning. So I would like to discuss the native species of reptiles, mammals, birds, etc. Before you, I believe you would have this document. I made copies for everyone, and outlined in the red is observations, species, observers, and the number of identifying these species. The first page is the desert tortoise. In red is them identified. Second page, we see a broader picture of the reptiles. 3,230 observations and 40 species. There was 942 observers, 586 identifications. On the page 3, I'm sorry I'm rushing through this. I got 3 minutes. I'm on the JV team. So on the third one is a broad picture in red. And this one here identifies 2,634 species in our area. What is required by state is under the code California Fish and Wildlife. I have a fishing license, right? This fishing license under the code 5.60 reptiles under item A, bag limit. With the possession of this permit, you cannot touch, photograph any of our native species unless you possess this. You cannot take into possession more than 2 species, some are 1. You cannot touch the desert tortoise at all. You cannot move the ground. Those are federal issues. There is a laundry list of species, folks. There's nesting sites, desert tortoise nesting sites that are underground. Nothing has been observed. Nothing thus far has been mentioned in any of this. We're talking about dust. We're not talking about native species. You're on the verge of opening Pandora's box. If you look at this app is iNaturalist.
That's time. Thank you very much. Ted Stimple is our last request to speak.
Good morning. My name is Ted Stimple. My residency is Newberry Springs. I am opposed to the BMT Mineola Solar Project and the madness that solar in the Mojave Valley represents. This project is wrong for many reasons. The many violations have been earlier submitted to Land Use Services and the Planning Commission. All of the violations have been illegally ignored. To emphasize to this board its legal responsibilities to the county's citizens, last week I sent each of you a letter describing the carcinogenic silica health hazard associated with this project and the legal necessity to reject this project as required by law. If you do not reject reject this project, your vote is going to haunt you. Governor Gavin Newsom may be politically pressuring this county to rapidly build solar by threatening the retention of state funds necessary for county operations. But guess what? This bully is not your master. The people of this county are. You owe a legal fiduciary duty to protect the safety of the public, their families, their homes from harm. This is your principal duty. This county is being overburdened by solar developments to provide power for the rest of California. The public needs this board to get some backbone and to stop allowing solar developments that injure residents. We need to pivot to a balance in policies that include discussion of rooftop solar, the protection of our residents, and the protection of our natural resources. The applicant, the Newberry CSD, represents its limited public services. The CSD is not representing the sentiment of the overwhelming number of residents of Newberry Springs who do not want more hazardous silica dust. Do the right thing and reject this ill-advised solar application. Stop playing politics with people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now come back and have the applicant come back up to make their last closing remarks for 5 minutes, and they will be followed by the appellant's closing remarks for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll take a crack at it, and then Kevin will go in and correct me since he's the the permitting expert that led on the CEQA process, but with regard to biological issues, this is an issue near and dear to my heart. We, of course, it's been analyzed at great length through the CEQA process. We had biologists out on site doing survey work to identify potential impacts, species of concern. This is the general area where desert tortoise is a concern. We did have mitigations to address desert tortoise. I should note that the site is next to the airport and it's bounded by the National Trails Highway very nearby on the south side of the project. So, and as well, it's used for off-roading. So not really wonderful habitat for desert tortoise, but in any case, that survey work was done. We had mitigations to protect desert tortoise and other species. And in the comment period during CEQA, we received extensive letter and comment from the Desert Tortoise Council. And based on that guidance and suggestions, we added additional mitigation measures to address specifically desert tortoise. There's a range of other pre-construction surveys required. And so I think the CEQA process has been comprehensive in addressing those concerns. The only other thing I would mention in response to some comments raised was related to dust and discussion about soil amendments. And in fact, AQMD, Mojave Desert AQMD is very familiar with the soils and air quality issues, and their requirements are specifically designed to deal with issues in this area. There is a requirement under Rule 403 to use either water or soil stabilization methods. So I think soil amendment would be a form of a soil stabilization method. And my understanding is that there are quantitative requirements around how much dust is significant or not significant for a site. And so we're held to that standard. And so I think, again, that the conditions of approval will protect the local community.
Thank you, Todd. I've not much to add there. I think Todd had covered all the items that I had also jotted. In regards to native species, there was a desert tortoise biological survey conducted. No habitat for desert tortoise was found on site. Nonetheless, there's mitigation measures that have been implemented to do presence-absence survey prior to construction, and those are conditioned in the report. The community member mentioned a number of reptile observations. The California National Diversity Database is something that we look at prior to any on-site surveys, and we do a half-mile radius from the site to determine any presence or potential presence of species. So that was all analyzed under the CEQA document and taken into consideration in the conditions of approval. No other comments from myself, and we're here to answer any questions from staff or the board.
Thank you much. At this time, we will take questions from the board or come back and do that.
It's your discretion, but we do have the appellant that does still get their 5 minutes, which.
I know our vice chair has a question.
I don't cook.
Do you have a brief question?
Well, I saw Chief Muncie up there, and I don't know if this is out of order, but God, was it a year ago or a year and a half with the fire that was up there in the desert? And thank you for the great job you did, but you remember the fears that we had with those winds up there and that fire. And I don't know if it's out of, just to ask him to comment whether this is a factor that contributed to us.
If you're okay with it, when we bring Mark Wardlaw and team back up, we can have them weigh in on that, and then Chief Muncie can backfill if necessary.
He might not want to talk to me.
He may not. All right. Thank you very much. We're going to bring the appellant back up for their final 5 minutes.
Okay. Director Roberts says, make it happen. It's very simple, really. We appreciate hearing everyone's opinions on this. We appreciate the questions. We look forward to questions that you may have, supervisors. It's really, in my view, very simple. We're only asking for 3 conditions of approval, and the developer, the applicant, has already agreed to 2 of the 3. They've agreed they're not going to use lithium battery storage. Agreement. They've agreed that they're going to connect to the local 12,000 volt grid. Agreement. Make those conditions of approval. There's agreement 100% on those. Is that correct? You agree, right?
Sir, if I can ask you to address your rebuttal to us,
I'm
please.
sorry.
Thank you.
The third condition of approval that we're asking for is dust. This is the biggest deal. The applicant states that they are in agreement, they're obeying the law, they're going to control dust by putting water on the ground. We're in the desert. Water only lasts a few minutes. Water is not sufficient to control the dust that they create. Secondly, they're going to put an 8-foot fence around the property. Well, what does dust do? It's erased from the ground. It doesn't stay along the ground till it hits the fence. It rises into the air. It travels for miles and miles. They have to be required to control their dust. We believe 4 inches of gravel wherever they disturb the ground needs to be a requirement. If they don't disturb the ground, no gravel. It's very simple. Please consider and require battery storage, lithium battery storage prohibited, local grid connection required, dust control, effective dust control, 4 inches of gravel. It's not that expensive. It's a small project. We're talking maybe a couple $1,000s. What's wrong with requiring that? Please do. Any questions?
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to bring Mark Wardlaw and the Land Use Services folks back up. I appreciate your time there. So I know we want to talk about fugitive dust mitigation.
Thank you, Chair. There are a number of conditions associated with the project regarding dust. Condition 37 specifically requires grading land disturbance conditions that a dust control plan shall be submitted and accepted by the county and Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District prior to issuance of any construction-related permit. So the plan itself is a requirement. It goes on to a particular condition, condition 39, specifically addressing air quality, that speaks to the Air Quality Management District's requirements regarding rules 402, nuisance, and 403, fugitive dust. This requires implementation of the best available control measures for each fugitive dust source. So in this case, it would be whatever would be related to the mounting of the panels, which is going to be de minimis, and then the less than acre site, 43,000 square feet of that area that needs to be bladed to deal with drainage. The project is required to protect with pre-watering prior to any onset of grading activity for those sites, in addition to the plan that has to be submitted and approved. The applicant is also required to ensure that all disturbed areas are treated to prevent erosion. The project proponent shall ensure that all grading activities are suspended when winds exceed 25 miles per hour. And there are additional requirements for various emissions. So the project itself, in terms of its submittal of a drainage and grading plan, requires review for the area and then also for the specific mitigations. If the board wished to establish an additional language regarding the specific design of the mitigations, we would suggest that we explore with Air Quality Management District the best management practices regarding binding in a more permanent way the soil conditions, whether it's cow manure, whether it's gravel, whether it's other binders, whether it's revegetation. We think that that would be best done in consultation through the implementation of the existing condition. And to that effect, I don't believe that an amendment to the condition is required because it's pretty explicit to that regard. But the board may add for clarification and emphasis.
Okay. Would you like to ask your question about fire and see if Mark Wardlaw can answer that?
What, they or there's,
Mark, would you like to tackle fire, or Chief, would you like to weigh in?
Madam Chair, may I just ask a question, though? I agree with that, but the applicant or respondent, I'm not sure in this case, with the developer, that they can't put lithium batteries there because it's not part of the project anyway.
May I intro, instead of responding to specific fire issues, the project would require an amendment to use lithium batteries. It is not part of the project. The site has not been evaluated in terms of site design for the pad and the infrastructure and the location of batteries. It's simply not a component. If the applicant wanted to return with batteries, they would go through an exhaustive and extensive review. We partner and collaborate with Fire District to make sure we're very well aware of the fire risks and issues associated with lithium batteries. We see the news, we can read, and we're super cautious about the fire risks. And we work hand in hand with fire to make sure if a proposal is submitted for lithium batteries, then the standards established by fire are incorporated completely within the conditional use permit.
And I understand you don't call out that everything that is excluded, but is it possible to add a sentence in that says this excludes battery storage?
For the project description, we are happy to add a statement that says this project does not include, nor is it allowed at this point in time, to provide battery storage facilities.
I think that that would be a welcome by the residents.
Thank you.
Okay. Chief?
I think Mark did a great job. Maybe we should look at him to answer the fire questions in the future. Supervisor Cook, do you have a cook?
All right, Chief.
County Fire conditioned this project back late last year. Our primary concern is not the lithium batteries, because as Mark indicated, there is none in this project. And if there was going to be installation of battery energy storage systems or lithium battery backup, it would require reconditioning of this project. County Fire's primary concern is, does the fire engines have access to the panels, which do require that the soil be compacted down in order to hold 80,000 pounds of fire engine weight, and that there is 2 or more access points into this facility. Based on our review, the applicant did complete our process, and we had no concerns on this particular process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so I will continue on with questions for you. The local power grid, connection to the local power grid. We've heard the developers state that it will be a project that it is not conditioned. Where's the disconnect between the community and the developer on this?
The project itself must inherently meet the standard of community-oriented solar power. So as part of the general plan, it's already limited to what they can submit, and it is inherently part of the project. So did that answer your question? They will have to submit to the grid for their transmission lines to occur, but it's the hold on, I'm going to go to a condition. So the project itself, we do not, the county, administer the grid. So in this case, the utility provider is Southern California Edison. Conditions 103 and 104 require the applicant to provide documentation, and a obtaining approval from Southern California Edison as part of their community renewables program. So the requirements of the general plan and the renewable energy conservation element piece are actually implemented through these conditions.
Okay. I would like to see specific measures called out in the condition of approval for fugitive dust and consultation back with Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District. Both Vice Chairman Cook and I sit on that board. I don't think that we're interested in making additional rules that are more stringent for our residents, but we are, in terms of development, looking to impact negative effects. And so I would like to see something added in there that requires them to exhaust all possible fugitive dust measures, whether that is manure, whether that is gravel. As the developer almost condescendingly pointed out, that it is a small project, and this community of Newberry Springs is a very tight-knit community. And sir, I found your remarks to be a little offensive when you said that the community really ought to spend their time going to the other projects that have been conditioned. I have been out there. I've spent my independent days out there, and I will tell you, it is a slice of Americana that we should all strive for. So I was offended by that remark. I know that this community tries really hard to do right by them. We are an extension of the government. They do for themselves what we can't do almost sometimes because they are so far removed from the government seat. They take care of themselves. They are not asking to kill this project. They are asking for very thoughtful things. And when you point out that your project is small, it makes me want to say it is small. It is not the Clearway project, and you should help them by mitigating these things. So I would very much like to see anything and everything that you can do to keep the dust down. I myself have lived in the desert for more than 20 years, and I suffer from some of the same lungs that Mr. Unger put up. I have half of a lung missing on the left side, so I can't run anymore. So it is a thing. It's not an exaggeration on their behalf, and folks choose to live out there for a reason which you may not understand, but it is a part of their life, and we have to respect it. So I would love to see anything additional that you can put in for dust mitigation measures that they can have in place. And yes, I know folks will say, doesn't the desert always have blowing wind? Well, when you're crossing 247 out in the desert, Lucerne Valley, for example, and areas have been plated when we had the illegal cannabis, you can tell exactly where they were. It is a stream of nothing but dust. And so anything that we can do to mitigate that for our residents would be greatly appreciated.
Chair, we will include that language in condition 39.
Can you clarify what you are adding?
Yes, we would add language that says the applicant with county and Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District shall consult to exhaust all feasible possible dust mitigation measures as part of the best practices review and requirements.
All right, and then on the lithium batteries, you will explicitly call out that it is not permissible, is that correct?
Yes, with this project description.
Okay, very well. Yes, Supervisor Armendariz.
Regarding that says today it's not permissible, but if they choose in the future to bring it back, then they'd have to go through that exhausting process, correct?
That is correct, and at that time, they'd be subject to the rules, requirements, and criteria for lithium batteries.
Perfect.
You answered pretty much all my questions and pointing out, it's, whenever you apply for a permit, it's very specific for what you're applying for. So when it's lithium batteries or a gas station on the corner, or whatever the case, that would have to be laid out. But the clarifying language, I think, puts a peace of mind that under this permit, that it's not able to do that. So I like that. You address we all sit in our air quality management boards. They're quite strenuous in the current standards, but I like the language you put in, Madam Chair. And the other one was the local control. I mean, that's been my big fight for a long time, is our residents are putting up with the power generation in the desert, but we're not getting any benefit besides selling it off to our one and only provider, Edison. And they determine the rates by going through another entity, CPUC, sets the rates for our residents in the tier system. So it is defined as a local because of the size. Going into a local grid, they're not building another grid. You can't necessarily sell it to another provider without going through Edison on that. But it's something we could look at in the future of how do we get some benefit for our residents. But I think that's more of a bigger discussion with Edison and our provider.
I don't think we have the ability to say that the power stays within the local community. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. At least at this time.
Yeah. But with those conditions, I'll move it.
I have a motion by Supervisor Hagman. Further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say, I wanted to echo his comment. At the end of the day, I think we've hit all three of those issues that were of concern. Made it very clear our direction, and I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to deny the appeal with the newly added conditions. Did I close the public hearing? Before I take a vote, I will close the public hearing. So to clarify, we are denying, the motion is to deny the appellant's request, even though we've done as much as we can for them with the modified conditions. So to deny their appeal and modify the conditions of approval as set forth today by us.
Yes, thank you for that clarification, Madam Chair.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, the motion passes.
All right. Thank you all very much. With that, we will move on to our public comments on matters not on our agenda. We're going to start out in the Joshua Tree conferencing site. Our first request to speak that we have is Eric Menendez, followed by Ray Kennedy.
Hello, board. Is the computer going to reboot? Did it still, or did we get that fixed? No, the 3-minute countdown? Okay. My name's Eric Menendez. I am a resident of 29 Palms. I had a company called Desert Beacon, and we've worked closely with the city of 29 Palms and residents and property owners in the county alike. We had reached out to your Supervisor Rowe's office a few times, and we were just not getting a response. So I've had to request some information from the county administrative office. Basically, we're just looking to have a little discussion about tourism up here and the effect it's had as the district as a whole. As you can see, I have a map kind of that I've taken from, it's about to be signed out, from Supervisor Rowe's district, kind of showing how the 3 different cities and the 2 towns or cities and the county interact with one another. We have a lot of stuff going on up here and a lot of effects of the industry, but no one's really sitting together talking about it and addressing things. We're all doing the same thing as far as the county goes of the 2 towns. So we started a website called Code Blue JT. It's codebluejt.com, where we have discussed kind of things like revenue, how the 2 different visitor centers up here are operated, and transient occupancy taxes, which are collected by each municipality. So I encourage everyone to go there, and I just would like to, I understand Supervisor Rowe is going to meet with us on the 28th of the month, and I look forward to meeting with her. And in the meantime, I just encourage everyone to check out the website, codebluejt.com. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much. I think we have, yep, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray Kennedy, followed by Teresa Radzik.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ray Kennedy. I'm here this morning from Morongo Valley to speak about citizen engagement and open government. Frankly, I feel a bit like Charlie Brown trying to kick the football. First it's there, then it's yanked away, then it's there again, then it's not. I happened to stop by the Government Center here in Joshua Tree on August 6th and saw this notice of site closure sign posted on the notice board outside. It reads, effective with the August 6, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting, this site is no longer available as a location to provide in-person comments to the board. You don't like it?
We'll see if we can reconnect out there with Joshua Tree. Teresa Radzik is not speaking, so Garth Pizant will take you, and then hopefully we'll get, his name has dropped off. Ray. Had him back.
We will call him back.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bezant, followed by Joanne Jenis.
Thank you. The local family law courts, attorneys, and paralegal firms are making large amounts of money from the dissolving of your family. When your children grow up, they will hate you. Settle out of court. It is alleged that the United States Department of Justice is in morbid fear of possibly the largest drug cartel on the face of this inhabited earth. The above allegation involves the latter's financial support of Enterprise Rent-A-Car and its executive office in Redlands, California. I'm snitching on everybody, including operators 55 and 52 recorded. The United States of America's Social Security Administration is corrupt. Why? It is not owned by the United States. This corruption starts from high beyond the commissioner, its administrative law judges, and its employees. At one time over the last several years, I was sitting in the local administrative law judge clerk lobby. I was exposing on the phone the administration and the attorneys whom supposedly represent the people. The attorneys started sweating in his air-conditioned office to the point of the makeup started deforming the faces of their female lawyers, and all attorneys rushed through and out of the lobby. Just a few years ago, I attended an ALJ hearing at the above office at the nearing end of the COVID pandemic. The power-wielding clerk exited her office to see me. She was depressed. Immediately, a Chinese woman came out and attempted to explain to me that my particular civil rights complaint is not appropriative to their corruption. Sometime afterward, the ALJ told me that the appeals judge will only allow my hearing to address issues I have not claimed. When the Great Tribulation strikes, will our Social Security be safe? Our present time period is critical. If China and Japan don't surrender half of each citizen's gross income to the United States of America, I'm going to wish everyone into the cornfield.
Thank you. Joanne Jenis, followed by Anonymous.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joanne Jenis, and I live in the city of Chino Hills. 3 topics I will be discussing today: the county's 2024 Homeless Count Survey Report, the new U.S. Supreme Court ruling regarding encampments, and Prop 36, known as the Homeless Drug Addiction and Theft Reduction Act. The 2024 Homeless Report revealed a total of 4,255 homeless individuals in our county. That's a 1.4% increase from the previous year. A breakdown by subpopulation revealed that the substance users were the second highest count in that category, and in the third position were those with mental health problems. The CARE Act and Laura's Law treatment programs could be used as a means to help those severely mentally ill homeless individuals. But what do you do with the homeless substance users with co-occurring mental issues that don't meet the criteria for those programs and they refuse help? What would the U.S. Supreme Court ruling, which gives cities more powers to arrest, cite, and fine people who sleep outside in public places, be used as a tool to address those individuals? How many will just pick up their belongings and move on to another location? Is there even enough resources to address the issue? Our governor is threatening to take away funding from the county and cities if the encampments aren't cleared. And then there's Prop 36, the Homeless Drug Addiction and Theft Reduction Act. The proposition will amend Prop 47 if it passes in November. With Prop 36, charges for drug possession for certain drugs would have some teeth to it. On the third arrest, a person would be given the option of participating in a drug treatment program or being incarcerated. My 29-year-old son, who has been arrested 19 times in a 14-month period for possession of a small amount of meth, each incident has resulted in a cite and release because of Prop 47 and AB 109. He then returns back to his encampment to use more drugs. He has ADHD and Asperger's and is showing some signs of mental deficit, but apparently they aren't severe enough to qualify for the programs. I'm thinking he might be one of those individuals where the new court ruling or Prop 36 could be enforced. The court ruling allows for a 30-day incarceration period. Would jail prison benefit my son? It might if he stays in long enough to detox, meaning not just a day or two, and if intervention is provided. I'd rather see him in jail than living on the streets with the possibility of him overdosing again on fentanyl. My husband and I were recently granted a request to renew a restraining order placed on our son. The judge asked why we wanted to renew the order. We explained our son's situation and the number of arrests, cite and releases in just a little over a year's time. The judge's remark was, "That's a problem we're having." That judge gets it. Thank you to Deputy Mike Jones from Hope and the DBH workers that have been providing information and direction. Supervisor Jesse, my good friend, Councilmember Ray Marquez, just recently spoke to you and might have mentioned my son's situation to you. I have more to say, but I'm sure I'm out of time. On another note, I recently read that some city representatives have requested to meet with the supervisors in San Bernardino.
That's time.
Thank you very much. We're going to go back out to our Joshua Tree conferencing site and see if we can get Mr. Kennedy back. Mr. Kennedy, please, we apologize for the disconnectivity. Please start over for your full 3 minutes.
Thank you. I don't think I'll introduce myself again, but I will back up a little bit from where we were interrupted. As I was saying, I happened to stop by the Government Center here in Joshua Tree on August 6th and saw this notice of site closure sign posted on the notice board outside. It reads, effective with the August 6th, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting, this site is no longer available as a location to provide in-person comments to the board. It said nothing about being available when significant public use is required. I wrote later in the week to the clerk of the board to inquire who had made the decision to discontinue remote participation, when the decision was made, and when and how that decision was communicated to the public. What followed was a frustrating exchange with the clerk's office seeming to do their best to avoid answering those simple questions. The message also cited an analysis on the use, the clerk's message cited an analysis on the use of the remote sites. Has this analysis been shared with the board? Has it been shared with the public? Has it been shared with the Morongo Basin MAC? Oh, well, no, it couldn't be, as you've eliminated the Morongo Basin MAC. The message from the clerk's office said that closure notices at both Joshua Tree and Hesperia advised that the sites would no longer be available on a regular basis. But that's not what the photographic evidence shows. I repeated my initial questions, the response to which was the press release announcing the closures that was part of the August 15th county update, well after the fact of the closures. I repeated my questions yet again and cited the county's sunshine ordinance. Members of the public should not need to engage in prolonged or burdensome efforts to obtain meaningful access to public records and information, and received a message saying that anyone who might visit the video conference sites was notified with notices at the locations indicating that use of the sites is not discontinued, but will be operated when it is anticipated to have significant public participation. The notice signs were posted on July 23rd. But I have shown you photographic evidence from August 6th that shows otherwise. Who decides when to open and when not? On what basis? And how and when is that communicated? Isn't it just easier to continue keeping these sites open? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to bring it back here where we have a request to speak that was provided anonymously. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Deborah Stone, who will be followed by Margaret Cashin. Do we have Deborah Stone? All right, we'll move on to Margaret, and who will be followed by Osvaldo Diaz.
Good morning. Thanks again for all your efforts over the past year to improve animal welfare in the county. Regarding Apple Valley Animal Shelter, we appreciate the county's stipulations that were added to the contract when it was renewed. We hope that the shelter is being monitored and held accountable to those stipulations. 7% of the cats exited the Apple Valley Animal Shelter alive last year. These statistics may be some of the worst in the nation. There are some small changes the shelter can make to improve this. We have reached out to them and to the city council repeatedly and have gotten no response. It feels like there is an unwillingness to change or a resistance to change. Here are some requests for improvements at Apple Valley Animal Shelter. Can the shelter list all the cats on the website within 24 hours of intake? We no longer feel it's a staffing shortage because there are 2.5 times more dogs than cats at the shelter, and it seems 100% of the dogs show up. Number 2, can they improve mislabeling? 90 to 95% of the cats are labeled as feral. This is statistically possible. It feels like this may be done in order to euthanize more quickly. If a cat is marked as non-adoptable, the shelter can legally euthanize it more quickly. California Penal Code 599D states that the state's policy is to not euthanize adoptable animals if they can be adopted into a suitable home. It feels like it's in their best interest to mislabel. Number 3, can the shelter administer necessary vaccinations to all cats within 3 days of intake? This is listed as a policy on their website, yet they don't do this. Monthly disease outbreaks result in mass euthanasia for health reasons. Within the last 2 weeks, at least 30% or more of the cats on the website were unvaccinated. Some were there for as long as 45 days. Subsequently, they had a pan-luke outbreak at the shelter. It's a highly contagious disease among cats. This approach is not just neglect, it's a system designed to fail these animals, resulting in their needless deaths. Compare Apple Valley to Devore. Devore employees are able to vaccinate all cats despite the cat's temperament. In addition, Devore staff wears gloves to limit spread of contagions. AV requirement for them to wear gloves. Would it be unreasonable to ask that AVAS be more properly trained? Number 5, can the shelter provide a daily urgent list, also known as a pending euthanasia list? This is provided to all the staff, yet they do not provide this to the general public or rescues. We have emailed asking for this, and as of yet, they have not responded to the request. Number 6, can the shelter grant access to authorized volunteers to take videos and photos of those 90% of cats in the non-adoption areas to increase visibility and promote adoptions? Number 7, we ask Apple Valley Animal Shelter, the Apple Valley City Council, and if possible, the Board of Supervisors to take immediate action to address these above shortcomings.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Osvaldo Diaz, followed by Chris Ortiz.
Very interesting session today. I got to find out about the dust thing and wherever it's at. A lot of people are, scared, or intimidated by these sessions. I find it very calming, especially after all the stress that I'm going through in my personal life. Just a quick shout out to Jesse Amandar's office and his staff, Angel. I want you to thank Angel for me, and thank you, Angel. I'm having some landlord-tenant issues, and he was kind enough I was surprised he answered his phone. I thought I was going to go to voicemail. I needed somebody to talk to. I called him, my wife's worker, of course, the police that night because of continued harassment. But I appreciate your office and your staff for helping me go through a mental health moment that night. That's a side issue. I'm going to follow this up with the Upland City Council meeting this next Monday. And I'm trying to get the appropriate laws to cite about an issue there. This is a mental health moment for me. It's very relaxing coming here now, and I feel very at ease. And I guess that's it. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you run for state assembly sometime. Maybe it's premature, but anyway. All right, I'll leave you with a joke. I looked it up the other day. It's kind of a cute dad joke, if you will, or I guess for older children, makes them think. Okay, here we go. What comes after a maybe? What comes after a maybe? A June bug. All right, guys. Hopefully see you again.
Thank you very much. Chris Ortiz, who will be followed by Dr. Gwen Dowdy-Rogers.
Good morning, San Bernardino County Supervisors. My name is Christopher Ortiz, and I am here today with Arrowhead United Way. I am the Marketing and Community Impact Coordinator, and I just wanted to discuss some of the great things happening at Arrowhead United Way. Within our 25 service region, Arrowhead United Way often encounters different issues affecting our community, but one that never stops is food insecurity. Through our United to Feed the Need initiative, Arrowhead United Way has been diligently working to connect our community partners to water and food items that help reduce their operational expenses and connect their community members to those items. In July alone, we donated over 80,000 worth of items and launched a fresh fruit and veggie program in the last 2 weeks, where our partner agencies picked up fresh items for their clients. We've also hosted workshops under our Health is Wealth initiative to reduce food insecurity in our service area. By hosting educational seminars on better eating habits and financial literacy, community members are able to receive the tools to live a more fulfilling life. Through those workshops, community members also receive gift cards that they're able to use at the grocery store, and they're connected to other community-based resources that'll help them in the long run. Today, I'd also like to talk about our Magical Music of Motown, a hunger relief concert that will be taking place on October 5th, 2024 at the historic San Bernardino Valley College Auditorium. Last year, we had the opportunity to provide their food pantry, the San Bernardino Valley College Food Pantry, my apologies, with the $2,500 donation that they're able to use to provide students on the campus who may be facing food insecurity and a need for hygiene items, those supplies. And we'd like to invite all of the board supervisors in our efforts to reduce food insecurity here in our service area. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. The last request to speak that I have is from Dr. Gwen Dowdy-Rogers.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much, and I appreciate all of your service today. I serve the city of San Bernardino, and I'm a lifetime resident here in San Bernardino. I want to first start by saying thank you so much for honoring the memory of my mother today. It's still very fresh to me, but she served this community, and I appreciate you all honoring her today. But today I am here in the capacity as the president and CEO of Arrowhead United Way, which is located very close to you all. And if you all got together, maybe the best hitter up there can hit a home run and probably land it on the top of our building. But we have been serving you all for 137 years, and we are grateful for the support of our 5th District Supervisor, Joe Baca, who was there at the launch of our BRAVE initiative. We're very proud of this initiative. It's the Beneficent Rapid Advanced Veteran Engagement, where we are serving veterans at our location. We had our first launch in March, and we served over 200 community members coming together with all of the resources, pooling them together to do something greater and better for our veterans. So we're very happy about that initiative. We want to encourage you all to come over and tour Arrowhead United Way. Arrowhead United Way has been here serving. Prior to my leadership, Doug Ruan, you all may have known him. I was serving at the board as the board chair, and upon his retirement, I took over the leadership, and we've done some amazing things. And I wanted to make sure that you all are aware, as you heard from Chris this morning, we're doing a lot around hunger relief, and so we invite you to come out and visit with our wonderful Magical Music of Motown, which is coming up very, very soon, so you'll get invitations. And please, I hope you would come over and tour our facility. Thank you for your service. God bless you, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. That is the last request to speak that I have. This meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be here in Chambers at 10 a.m. on September 10th. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.